just a little Logitech. It's a 720p, so camera C910 or something.
Small.
Yeah, I didn't even know there's a camera up there. That was just a joke.
Oh, actually, it's 1080p. It's just that it can only live stream at 720.
Oh, yeah. Is that a Google Hangout restriction?
Yeah, I just throw it up on YouTube and put it as a Google Hangout. I mean, like it'll tag it as a Google Hangout at the beginning.
That's cool.
Logic.
All right, you can start anytime. I'll get this timer out and going for you. Great. Floor is yours.
All right, great, thanks. Thanks, Dr. Suri, Dr. Anderson, and everyone else for being here. For my capstone project, I worked on Scrimp. Now, Scrimp is a digital savings app. And I want to start with a little example. So say you're a student. You decide that you want to save some money, be frugal. You come to class one day and your attractive classmate asks you out to go to lunch with some friends, right? And you politely decline. You see, you brought your own lunch and you're exercising self-control, you're feeling good, you're saving money, right? Well, that feeling is a lie. Now, the reason that feeling is a lie is because unless you actually transfer that money to your savings account, you're not actually saving it, you're just not spending it. Because there's a difference between not spending and saving. Now enter Scrimp. Scrimp takes the money that you don't spend and securely transfers it to your savings account for you, all the while tracking progress towards goals and history and giving you projections on when you will meet your goals. Now, I want to show you a couple screenshots. So the way it works is this is from the tutorial screen within the app. You go through the tutorial and learn about it. The way it works is built on Square Cash, which is a free service for transferring money. It's generally used to pay a friend back after going out to dinner. But in this case, you can use it to transfer money to yourself from one account, say your debit, to your savings account. And then at the end of the tutorial process, you go through and you scrimp your first dollar. And then after you send that email, Square Cash replies to those emails and says, okay, hook up your bank account. And that's where the actual linking of accounts takes place. This is the Scrimp entry screen, and I'll show you a little bit more when we get to the demo. And this is all it takes to actually facilitate the transfer. You just send it to an email, you CC cash@square.com, and you include the amount as the subject. So the tech involved, Scrimp is a native iOS app, meaning that it is built with Objective-C in Xcode, as opposed to some of the third-party tools for developing cross-platform apps. And it was built using Parse mobile backend as a service platform. All of the data is stored using Parse, which is an awesome tool. It allows for things like single sign-on from social media accounts, and it allows you to focus on your app, focus on the implementation of the app, the design of the app, and offload some of the technical details of the back end to Parse. And then Square Cash is used to facilitate the actual transfers. Now this is the data model. So you have a user, and we just collect a few pieces of information like you would expect: your name, your email, birth date, as well as a password. The only kind of unusual one is the secondary email, and that's what represents your savings account. And I'll touch on that more in a minute. A user has a one-to-many relationships with goals, and with goals I store the name, image, the target date when you want to complete the goal by, and the target amount. So for example here, if you want to save for a Hawaiian vacation, and you can upload an image of it, and then you have your target date, which would be July 2014, and $1,200 or whatever amount you see fit. And then the actual transaction, the savings transaction, is the scrimp model, and just the amount and the date. And then one other table is the settings. Scrimp features reminders, where you can set up reminders, daily or weekly, or different frequencies, and then also a virtual mode for those who don't want to actually make the transfer, but they like the idea behind it and they want to use Scrimp. You can just turn off the email and basically treat it as a virtual mode.
That's a good idea. So are you hashing your password, I assume?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you salting it?
I'm actually not sure, because that piece is offloaded to Parse.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, Parse handles all those things, right? That's the beauty of Parse. You just,
Well,
they have a little framework that you build in and just have those.
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, but I know there's no plain text passwords being stored in.
I'm sure that if they're handling it, they're probably salting it.
Okay, now I'm going to take you into a demo of the app. Okay. Use this for 1 second. I have way more open than I expected.
No worries.
Okay, well, I guess it's not going to look too pretty back there. Actually, I will just pull up the presentation behind it. That looks a little nicer. Okay. This is the screen that you see once you download the app. This is just your splash screen. So you can, okay, from here, so a lot of the time spent on the Capstone is actually spent on design and like the actual workflow, and there was a lot of polish, I guess. I tend to spend quite a bit of time on that, and so, for example, in the design of this screen, the major elements you see are the email and Facebook, because I want to draw the user straight into signing up for the service. And then if you already have an account, chances are you won't really see this screen. But if it was like you're logging in on your second device, like an iPad, then you still have the option. You can come in and log back in. So I'm going to log back in with my account and using the Facebook single sign-on. And assuming this goes well, it should just switch over to Facebook.
So does Parse handle the OAuth for that as well?
It does, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Makes it very smooth.
I mean, that's really the way it should be. Right?
Yeah.
Why are we all,
Yeah.
doing this 10-10?
Makes no sense.
Or connection.
And check that.
Parse usually handles the OAuth for this. Not right now.
Yeah. And check my internet connection.
Well, you messaged with our app too.
Looks
Yeah,
like
it's been dropped in for recently, even if it shows full.
It's really bad.
Do you want to switch to guest?
I don't even know.
Try
Yeah.
guest. That helped me.
There may just be so much flying through the air that like ours will break, the connections will break more often than anywhere else.
Even my wire isn't, it's super slow.
Yeah, the last couple days I've had infrastructure issues.
Boo.
Several varieties. I'm just glad it's not my problem.
The whole damn center melted down.
Yeah.
That's hours ago.
Yeah, that's right. In 531 this last semester, we had the guy who was responsible for coming and talking about disaster recovery.
Wow.
And kind of lessons learned. He was so awesome.
And the network in the Lounge has been worse now since they made us get rid of Cecil's phone.
Is Cecil's iPad still over in the Mac
I
lounge?
think it is. But we gotta get a key.
I had my students in 404 track that down through the wireless lab.
Nice. I don't know why they get away with it, but we didn't. It's because we're the lacrosse team.
I don't like that.
Because they wear suits more often.
I think we need to tell people that we don't know what you're talking about.
People say we're the lacrosse team in Marriott School versus the Max football team.
No, the Macs are the basketball team.
Who's the football team?
Do you not know who resides here and has a huge lounge in this new part of the building?
Oh, yeah, the NBA, yeah. That's the football team.
PA are the cheerleaders.
Yeah.
We are live streaming.
Title IX.
Sorry, because they get a fancy building right next to them. You know, they get to go on all the same trips.
Their lounge is bigger than ours.
You got a hard connection up there? No.
Yeah, I don't.
It kind of doesn't make
My
sense that our lounge is next to
hard
our lounge.
connection just. Do any of you have a dongle for Mac adapter?
Oh, this one actually is the older one. It can plug straight in. So
This one looks like.
That sounds like very borderline sensitive. I'm trying to go there.
Oh, they're both genders.
Yeah, cheerleaders.
Yeah.
There we go.
They're actually the most balanced program.
They're the only balanced program I did.
Well, rep management's here too.
Oh, actually, yeah. they're
Ah, there we go.
Now we're good.
You know why they brought us?
Sorry for the difficulties.
We're back on.
Well, your supervisor
There we go.
should
So here in the simulator, it switches to Facebook, and we see this and hit OK. But on an actual device, it's seamless. It just logs you in. So this is as if you came to the app the first time you see this screen. And we'll jump over to the tutorial. All right, this is how it works. So we use a third-party service called Square to transfer your funds. And just a note on this tutorial, it's with a page view controller, which is the side scrolling. It's a pretty smooth experience for the users. And then you can also click on the link and it'll pull you to the Square Cash website so you can learn more. One of the barriers will be that people, to use the service, to use Scrimp, they need to be somewhat familiar with Square Cash. So trying to educate them at the same
I
time.
think your little tagline underneath there is really good. I've seen the white, credit card readers for the iPhone, and then all of a sudden the credibility,
Yeah.
goes up.
Yeah.
I agree. That's probably your biggest hurdle. I do like that virtual mode though too.
Yeah. So Square lets you send cash payments via email, but instead of sending money to others, you send it to your savings account. So this is why we have the idea of a secondary email. So your primary email represents your debit card, and your secondary email represents your savings account. Now this, I'm going to go to the last screen, see how the background goes transparent.
Nice.
This is a kind of a cool effect.
That's really cool.
That took some figuring out. It ended up being taking a lot longer than I expected, but it was pretty cool to figure out. And with this in mind, it could actually do a lot more, because what I'm doing is tapping into the scroll, and so every pixel that the screen moves over, I get a notification back, and so I can do things like move buttons at different rates to have like parallax type effect, where I actually had it in an earlier design, but where that button, that OK button, would rise up from the bottom at the same at a speed that varied based on how far over you pull it. It would go up and down, and so that was really cool to figure out, and that's something that I think I can reuse or continue to add to Scrimp or maybe in other apps in the future.
So do you, is it basically just based on the total width, you get the pixel that, kind of your current pixel position at the left?
Is it just the X offset from here? From the left side of the screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's tapping into, so the page view controller it's at its root is a scroll view.
Mhm.
And so it's an undocumented API,
Uh-huh.
but you can access it and set the delegate of that scroll view so that you get delegate callbacks every time the scroll moves.
Yeah,
a little
that's
bit.
cool.
So, yeah, it is pretty cool. There's a lot of potential there. Parallax is bigger, I think, on web right now. It's a little harder to do on mobile, but those vertically scrolling websites that
Yeah.
different things pop in and move left and right. So it's that same type of idea.
Yeah, interesting.
So then I encourage the user to scrimp their first dollar, make sure they have their secondary email set up, and just tell them an email window is going to appear, confirm it, and hit send. So $1 pops up, and then hit send. And then we come over to the stats screen and have this circle chart that represents your progress. So by default, when you start using the app, there's a default goal of $100. That's kind of like, based on the data model, it seemed like it would be a good idea to have a default goal. But at the same time, I didn't want to make the user sign up for the app, go through the tutorial, link their bank account, and set up a goal all before they started scrimping, just because it's a huge onboarding process. So that's why there's just one default goal to begin. And I'll take you back.
So if you have multiple goals right now, it's still, there's only a secondary email, not a separate address for each goal. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah. And then this represents the goal screen. So I've decided for the first.
Oh, that's-
Yeah, those look pretty good, especially the new whip, the Tesla. But for the beginning, to launch the app with just a single goal, just because it's taken longer than expected, and I feel like that's a core piece, kind of an MVP piece that we'll need to ship the app. And so this is kind of just showing what it will be. Yeah, and then, let me show you the menu. So home just takes you back to the home, but then you can change your email settings. You can view the tutorial later, and then you can set up reminders. So remind me if I don't scrimp for so many days at a certain time, and you'll get a push notification reminder. And then you can log out.
How are you running the alerts or reminders?
They're actually local notifications, which is nice because they're scheduled, so I don't have to wait for some type of situation and send it out from the server. I know that they want that reminder sent, every
3 days from now.
X days, at a certain time.
And then if they hit it, you remove the.
I see.
Yeah.
So when you scrimp, you clear it out and reset it or
Yeah,
something?
exactly.
Nice. Good idea.
Yeah, and it's really nice because it takes advantage of local notifications in iOS, which are free, and push notifications, there's more overhead and they cost money. Well, they can cost money if you use certain services.
If you scrimp across devices, there's a little inconsistency there, right?
Yeah, that may be something to sort out.
Are you syncing? Did you say between devices
At
all?
Syncing, with parse. So syncing your script, your history, your goals. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, yeah.
And your settings, but not the local notifications.
Yeah.
At least not yet. So. All right.
Easier settings, easily save time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think it could be pretty.
You could sync
doable.
those and still send local notifications.
Yeah.
You just sync the settings down, pull them down, save them, and then just use local notifications.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Cool. Now I just want to talk about a couple of the challenges. So finding a payment transfer system was actually there's quite a few. So excited on Square Cash because it's free and because it's new. It has some momentum, and Square is a really cool company that people trust. There's also other services like PayPal, and Dwolla is a big one. And so quite a bit of time went into researching, and actually went down and explored the Dwolla SDK and spent a good 5 or 6 hours down that path. But then their SDK had some limitations, and then realized some other upsides of Square Cash, so ended up going that direction. The Parse SDK is really smooth. It has been an awesome learning experience, but it did take a little bit of time to figure out, and setting up the data model within Parse. Like I mentioned during that demo, the transparency and the parallax, it ended up being a bigger piece, but it was one of the more fun and rewarding pieces because I kind of opened my mind to a lot of different possibilities, not just in Script, but in other projects or at work, or that I could use in the future. The onboarding process, so those tutorial screens, those 5 tutorial screens probably went through about 20 revisions, anywhere from 4 to 6 screens, and the wording kept getting changed, and so hopefully it's at a place where it makes sense and will encourage users to get on board without scaring them off.
Tell me the process of iterating over those screens. What did you do, as far as saying, oh, I need to make changes? How did you make that determination?
I think a big thing was, so I didn't mention this yet, but I've used TestFlight to distribute beta builds to myself and my wife and a couple friends. And so actually writing the code and getting it there is one thing, but then just distributing it and like having it on your phone and being able to just walk through it. I realized once when I had Jeff Potter and his wife were over hanging out, and I showed his wife the app, and I realized as I was going through the tutorial, I had to like explain pretty much every screen. I had to give more details on. So that was a good sign that it needed to be revised and updated.
Yeah. How big of a group? So it sounds like maybe a half dozen or so folks that you would kind of iterate on? So
for test flight builds, there's been, about a half dozen. But then there have been quite a few more just talking, explaining the app, showing them what I've built so far. Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
And then, lastly, it's just design decisions. Giving people as many reasons as possible to use the app and to not be scared off by it. And with that, let me just open up for more questions.
Have you seen any other apps out there that use Square as a transfer backend?
I haven't, actually, no.
Is that something that Square, you think, wants people to use? Do you think it's something that they are like publishing for developers to use their service?
I'm not sure, actually, because it's not using an SDK or anything.
Right.
It's just helping them send the email.
But they have to. Users of your app have to sign up for Square Cache. They have to download Square Cache and sign up.
They don't have to download it. So basically, all they have to do is send the email, and then once they send the email, Square Cache replies to them and says, "Hey, link your bank account."
Okay.
So they can download.
Gives them the link and stuff. Okay.
And that it all happens in the web browser.
So it's almost like Square wouldn't even know that they're using it through your app because it's just email based.
Right. Yeah.
So for Square, that would just be like extra customers. So why would they care?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So walk me through some of the risks of Square. I mean, it seems like sending via email has some risks associated with it. I'm sure you've thought about a lot more than I have. What are some of those risks, and how does Square mitigate those risks?
So, it's a good question. There's quite a few. I mean, when users first think of it being that easy, they think, oh, that's great, but I think it can scare people off because usually they have to provide all this information.
And pay for it.
And so while they like the simple factor, they're used to all of these hoops they have to jump through, and it makes them feel more secure. So one of the big things would be simply if you lost your phone, and you didn't have it protected. And I think that honestly is the biggest risk with Square Cache, because anyone can send. So say I lost my phone, somebody found it, they just open up my email and send them a transfer, right? I mean, there's history,
Yeah.
so it would probably not be very smart for that person to do it. And then also Square Cache, anything over $250, they will send a confirmation email. So you can do more than $250, but they'll make you confirm it. Square Cache, I
If
looked
they
at.
have your phone, then they're probably okay. Confirm it.
That's true. Yeah, but you might see the email like on your computer or something like that. So, and then there's the possibility that those emails get intercepted, right? But Square Cache, that's another piece that I've kind of offloaded to Square Cache.
Yeah, that's right.
And had confidence that you know they are confident with their product and the security behind it, and so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to use Square Cache.
Yeah, I think a smart move by you. I just need to dig into it further. It seems like you could easily spoof some of those things because there's not really a security layer there. And anyway, be interesting unless they have some mechanism to look at the mail server that it's coming from and knowing that you've authenticated with them and they have a predetermined list of those mail servers or something like that, which might be possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Todd, did you have a question?
Yeah. Square Cache works. You just send an email address with a dollar amount in the subject.
Yep.
Which email address were you sending it to?
So I was sending it to my secondary, which was my work one. So I send it from kyle.clegg@gmail, my personal one, to kyle@solutionreach.com.
Well,
Which your first
Okay,
one's linked with your
but
checking, your
does-
second one's linked with your
How does
savings.
Square Cache know? You send it to Square Cache first?
No, you just CC cache@square.com. That's how they know.
And they send that person a link.
Crazy. Huh?
Well, yeah.
I love it. I use it all the time.
It's super simple.
I've got all my parents using it, my in-laws.
Nice.
Awesome.
Easy.
How much money do your in-laws have?
Is there a way you can obfuscate the email form so it doesn't look like they're sending an email?
Not if we want to use the Apple's email compose view controller.
Is there a reason
can
they need
you
to use
not
that?
use that controller? Because you've got like a process that's pretty impressive,
Mhm.
and that's like peeking behind the curtain at the Wizard of Oz, like
Yeah.
it's just an email with a CC.
Yeah.
It's just an email.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
So obfuscate it, and then to the user, it's more. There's more going on. They have more reason to even pay for the we're providing more value, right?
The question is, does iOS allow you to do that? Send emails without opening up the composer?
I have apps that do that.
Just send emails just without telling you?
Yeah, I have a scanning app where I can turn it into a PDF and send it off, and it says, "All right, it's queued up."
that,
So I don't know what.
I'd have
and
to
then
explore
you're,
that.
and then you're a magician.
Yeah.
And then even if people who would worry about using an email to transfer money,
They look like
they
they're
don't
using-
know. You may know enough about Square Cache to trust they know what they're doing,
Mhm.
but someone
They
else
might
not
not.
familiar with their service,
Then you would have to spend effort convincing them about someone else's product.
Oh, I would, as a consumer, definitely need to understand.
Well, they're still going
I
to
mean,
get
I'm specifying
the
my
email back from
addresses
Square
and stuff.
Cache.
As long as you tell them, but not every time showing you.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
using Square Cache, we need these email addresses. Okay, I'm using a service, but then when you say we're using Square Cache, we need these email addresses, and we're just sending an email,
Okay, yeah.
and
Most consumers probably don't care to know the process.
Right.
yeah, and I think you present something
Oh.
more.
Yeah, I'll have to explore that more. I think one other reason why I was okay with that is because from this screen, when they hit do it, I kind of wanted a confirmation because you're actually transferring money, so it feels like something that requires one more step to
Yeah.
confirm it. And so,
Are you sure?
yeah, and are you sure?
You could build
And so-
you could build your native company.
Yeah, no, I know I could, but this kind of accomplishes that at the same time,
Oh.
right? So,
All right, very good. Thanks, Kyle.
That's awesome. I like it.
thanks.
Yeah, I love the